Heyo, what is up everyone? It is the Alpha J of the Alpha J show and you guys voted for it, so we're going to be doing the top 11 best Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes. Little to my knowledge, I didn't know that there were very few Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy centered episodes. Heck, some of the episodes on this list don't necessarily have Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy in it for a considerable period of time. So just bear in mind, when I say Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes, I mean the entire lore, the entire saga. Pretty much anything that has to do with the superheroes, even if they aren't in it, some of these episodes have to do with the supervillains, and those count. Because it's a part of the same saga, it's a part of the same lore, the same feel. So just bear that in mind, and let's get into it. Number 11, Back to the Past. This is a very weird episode, which involves time travel and death. Remember how I said in Band Geeks, classic SpongeBob knew how to treat death. Yeah, here it is not necessarily treated well. I feel like the entire concept seems pretty cool and has a bit of depth, but it has this aura of uncomfort, which I don't want to feel while watching a SpongeBob episode. It also suffers from Patrick being stupid just to be stupid. Number 10, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 6, The Motion Picture. The first offering of our undersea duo post-movie starts here, where they come up with ways to film an authentic Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy movie. It's not bad, but I wouldn't consider it top 5 material, for its complete and solid story, broader than normal range of characters, and performance of the superhero duo, lacked in the comedy and the animation, which looked a lot more stilted than normal. Number 9, Mermaid Man vs. SpongeBob. This episode is really cool. It introduces Plankton into the picture as an antagonist, something we haven't seen in any Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes so far. I love this scene of Plankton not getting food for the customers because he never thought he would get this far. Overall, it is another solid episode featuring the duo with a twist of mind control that if you haven't seen it in a while, I'd recommend greatly. Number 8, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4. This is also an episode of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy that doesn't really feature them as a supporting role. This is an episode of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy that doesn't really feature them as a supporting role, but it still counts. The real star here is Mermaid Man's belt. I feel like the story and everything was pretty good, but it was missing some of that classic comedy that other Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes had that is further on the list. And now mind you, I said some, as this episode has introduced me into the study of Wumbo. Number 7, Mermaid Man Begins. This is another episode that kind of has all the marks for a great Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode, but it just felt too slow. Now I know we're dealing with two elderly folk, but I'm sure we could have quickened the pace as majority of the episode was remembering them when they were younger. But it's a neat episode explaining the origins. I just don't think it's top 3 material. Number 6, Super Evil Aquatic Villain Team Up is Go. This episode is one of the last times we will be seeing Mermaid Man and SpongeBob, and I actually really do like this episode. I do feel like Man Ray is slightly out of place, and he doesn't seem to understand the power he holds, but that's just me. The episode shines with Plankton and Man Ray teaming up, which you'd think would happen sooner. And overall, I think the episode is great, and I feel like they should have done this a lot sooner than they did. I would have loved to see a lot more of this. Number 5, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 2. I love this episode of SpongeBob. It's the last of the first season, and it continues the trend from the first Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode, where SpongeBob is starstruck. I like how forgiving they are, as well as how Mermaid Man still has his passion, and still can teach Barnacle Boy a thing or two. It's super funny, and it still holds up to this day. It's not talked about as much, but I hope I reminded you guys about how awesome this episode is. Number 4, The Bad Guy Club for Villains. This episode is a spoof of old superhero shows. Even though I wasn't born in that time frame, I didn't feel alienated, and I can appreciate it for this SpongeBob episode. I love that the entire episode revolved around this weird reading message at the end. I love the old designs of the bad guys and the IJLSA. Some people may not like the back and forth between SpongeBob and the show within the show, but I didn't mind it. Number 3, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 5. This is a proper episode of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, which shows us the constant back and forth that they deal with, let alone their back and forth with evil. It's a very complete story that shows us that all Barnacle Boy wants is a little more respect. It is one of my personal favorites to come out of season 3, and is the last of classic SpongeBob, Mermaid Man, and Barnacle Boy appearances. Number 2, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 3. Now, to anyone who has watched Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 3, you would know that the crew has very little impact, which is why I had to include any Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy-esque saga episodes. And this one is extremely funny. I love the way Man Ray has to deal with SpongeBob and Patrick. Oh, and the ending was really touching. The way that Man Ray just couldn't rob the bank. And the number one best episode, in my opinion, of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, if process of elimination hasn't already given it away, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 1. The iconic first episode of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. It still holds up today. With the funny fangirling of SpongeBob and Patrick, it established the two retired but out of retirement at the end of the episode heroes as fun to be around characters. I love all of the humor that went into it, and the fact that they use the whole old people trope and make it into something truly remarkable. So that's my list, guys. There isn't a lot to choose from. I know there's also episodes such as shuffleboarding, for example, but obviously that wasn't going to make the list. In my opinion, I don't like shuffleboarding. I don't really think it's a good episode. But if you guys were to make a top 11 list, I would love to read it in the comment section below. What do you think about Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episodes? Do you think that they're generally good, generally bad, kind of in the middle? Do you think they've declined from classic to modern SpongeBob? As I read and respond to some of the comments, make sure to follow me at The Alpha J Show on Twitter for the latest and greatest in blah. And if you have any requests at all, leave it in the request video. If you really like this video, I highly suggest going back to my top 11 Gary episodes. It was also most voted. And yes, there is a poll up here, unless the next top 11 video is out. Make sure to subscribe and feel free to consider my Patreon. As always, I hope your time is well spent. And Alpha out.